The morning sun rises over the Bay of Naples at around 5:30, painting the sky in brilliant hues of pink and gold. It seems like just another ordinary morning in one of the Roman Empire's most prosperous coastal cities. Early risers are already making their way to the public fountains with clay jars to collect water, while slaves diligently sweep the cobblestone streets outside their masters' sprawling villas. A few shopkeepers roll back their shutters, preparing their fresh goods for the morning rush as the darkness slowly fades. The bustling city drifts to life, completely unaware that this is the last sunrise Pompeii will ever see. You might be at the market buying fish, going about your daily routine, yet you have just 3 hours left to live. By sunset, this entire thriving hub will be buried under 6 meters of volcanic ash, freezing your body in whatever position death encounters you. The imposing mountain that has slept peacefully in the distance for your entire life is about to release the terrifying energy of 100,000 atomic bombs. By 8 a.m., the narrow alleys are teeming with life. The warm, rich scent of fresh bread pours from every bakery, and children chase each other through the crowded streets. This is no backwater village. It is a thriving commercial powerhouse of 15,000 people. In the metal workers' quarter, hammers ring rhythmically against bronze. Slaves haul water from the public fountains, and organizers prepare the grand amphitheater for the highly anticipated gladiator games in the afternoon. Just 5 miles away, Mount Vesuvius looms peacefully in the background, its slopes blanketed in lush forests and flourishing vineyards. The black volcanic soil surrounding the city is incredibly fertile, producing the sweetest grapes in the entire Roman Empire. As far as anyone knows, the mountain is completely extinct and harmless. For the past 4 days, a series of earthquakes has been growing progressively stronger. However, tremors are normal here. The ground shakes all the time. 17 years earlier, a major earthquake severely damaged the city, but the resilient people of Pompeii simply rebuilt, as they always do. They have no way of knowing that these are not ordinary tectonic shifts. It is the ancient mountain finally waking up. As the morning progresses, the baker continues to pull fresh loaves from his oven, while a fish vendor haggles over prices with passionate gestures. Nearby, a mother calls out desperately to her children, summoning them inside for breakfast. Life continues exactly as it always has, but the clock is ticking down remorselessly. By 9 a.m., the Central Forum is packed to capacity. Lawyers argue complex cases under the shade of the covered porticus, while money exchangers count glittering coins behind small wooden tables at the market, testing each piece with their teeth to verify the real silver content. The wealthy families relax within their sprawling villas at the city's edge, surrounded by walls decorated with intricate frescoes that depict vivid scenes from Greek mythology. These are not merely decorative. They are symbols of high status, announcing to every visitor that the villa's owner is highly educated and cultured. In contrast, the less affluent residents live in smaller, tightly packed houses that share walls with their neighbors, though even these modest homes boast kitchens with stone fire pits. Meanwhile, the poorest citizens crowd into multi-story apartment buildings known as insulae, where devastating fires are a constant danger, and privacy is completely non-existent. Pompeii's strategic location, right where the Sarno River meets the Mediterranean, makes it an absolute paradise for international trade. Ships dock daily at the busy port, carrying exotic goods from every corner of the empire. Spices from the distant east, vital grain from Egypt to feed Italy's swelling cities, and precious purple dye from Tyre that is worth its weight in silver. In return, the region exports its famous Campanian wine, a renowned vintage celebrated across the Roman world. Roman soldiers savor it along the chilly borders of Hadrian's Wall, while wealthy merchants serve it at lavish banquets in Alexandria. By 10 a.m., deep beneath the deceptive beauty of Mount Vesuvius, the hidden magma chamber has finally reached critical, explosive pressure. Molten rock that has been steadily accumulating for centuries pushes violently against a dense plug of old, solidified lava. Throughout the city, no one notices that the local birds have suddenly gone dead silent, nor does anyone pay attention to the strange, erratic behavior of the neighborhood dogs. Animals inherently sense these deep earth changes, but humans routinely ignore the subtle warning signs until it is far too late. People are simply too busy, too distracted, and entirely too convinced of their own permanent safety. Back in the heart of Pompeii, the rhythm of daily life marches on. Someone is celebrating a joyous wedding. Someone else is solemnly burying their father. And a thief is quietly stealing goods from a local shop. The massive amphitheater, capable of seating 20,000 spectators, more than the city's entire resident population, is preparing for spectacular events, featuring seasoned gladiators and exotic animals. The enthusiastic crowd gathers early to claim the best seats in the house, though tragically, none of them will live to see the show begin. By 11 a.m., the public baths are operating at full capacity as thick steam rises from the beautifully heated pools. Men discuss high-stakes business deals in the hot rooms with sweat dripping down their faces, while women gossip in their own separate section about high society marriages, brewing scandals, and who is sleeping with whose slave. Beneath the beautiful floor tiles, the brilliant Roman hypocaust system pumps steady heat through the vast complex, kept alive by exhausted slaves who tend the roaring furnaces below, constantly shoveling heavy wood into the fires. Outside, the streets are deafeningly loud. Heavy cartwheels grind against the stone pavement, and competitive merchants shout over one another to advertise fresh fish, caught this morning, warm bread, and premium wine. Laughter spills from local taverns. The faint melody of a flute drifts through the air, and hammers ring out from various construction sites scattered across the recovering city. By noon, the sun beats down relentlessly from directly overhead, baking the streets in a heavy, stifling heat. Seeking refuge from the oppressive midday glare, the citizens retreat indoors for their traditional afternoon rest. A profound quiet settles over Pompeii as the bustling shops lower their shutters and the lively thoroughfares empty out. Inside their cool, shaded sanctuaries, the wealthy recline comfortably on elegant couches, dining from polished silver plates. Meanwhile, the poor make do in their cramped quarters with simple meals of coarse bread and olive oil. Across the glittering Bay of Naples, however, a 17-year-old youth named Pliny stands completely unaware that he is about to witness one of the greatest cataclysms in human history. He will later record everything he sees in a series of vivid letters, providing modern historians with the only surviving eyewitness account of the disaster. At exactly 1 p.m., Mount Vesuvius violently explodes. A colossal column of superheated gas, ash, and pulverized rock shoots into the heavens at supersonic speed. It does not stop at hundreds or thousands of feet. It tears upward 20 miles into the atmosphere. The volcanic column rises so swiftly and impossibly high that people living 50 kilometers away can see it with terrifying clarity. The sound of the explosion is deafening, not a sharp crack of thunder, but a prolonged, agonizing roar, as if the earth itself is screaming in pain. Terrified residents rush outside into the streets, shielding their eyes and crying out in confusion. Looking toward the mountain, they witness the impossible, a monstrous black cloud rising into the heavens, expanding like a giant pine tree and completely blotting out the midday sun. Within minutes, brilliant daylight turns into pitch-black night. Then, the fallout begins. It does not rain water, but rock. Millions of lightweight, porous pumice stones begin raining down on Pompeii, their numbers growing until they are completely beyond counting. An astonishing 1.5 million tons of volcanic debris pelts the city every single second. The stones clatter violently against tiled roofs and bounce off the stone pavements, rapidly piling up in open courtyards. Pandemonium erupts. People scream, panic and run, driven entirely by raw survival instinct. The market vendor who was eagerly selling fresh fish just hours ago abandons his stall and flees toward his home. Mothers desperately clutch their children to their chests, while wealthy aristocrats bark orders at their slaves to hastily prepare heavy travel wagons. Some people simply stand frozen on the sidewalks, staring up at the disappearing sky, completely unable to process the cosmic horror unfolding above them. Crucially, this initial phase of the eruption is entirely survivable. The falling pumice is light and not yet hot enough to kill on contact. The people still have precious time, and the choices they make in these frantic moments will ultimately seal their fate. By 2 p.m., the main roads leading out of Pompeii are choked with a desperate mass of humanity. Thousands of citizens stream through the city gates, carrying whatever fragments of their lives they could grab in those first panicked minutes. The wealthy refuse to leave their fortunes behind, clutching heavy bags of gold and silver coins, while the poor escape with nothing but the clothes on their backs and the children in their arms. Stronger men carry elderly relatives piggyback through the falling debris. Bitter weeping echoes through the crowd as many realize they are permanently leaving behind family members who are too sick, too frail, or too stubborn to join the exodus. Imagine facing that unimaginable choice. Your grandfather cannot walk, and the heavy pumice rain is growing thicker by the minute. Do you stay behind to perish by his side, or do you leave him in his bed and run for your life? The volcanic rock accumulates at a terrifying rate of 6 to 8 inches per hour. Every hour of hesitation adds another half-foot of debris to the streets, rendering escape routes impassable and threatening to crush buildings under its immense weight. The roads descend into absolute chaos. People push, shove, and fight their way forward, while terrified children are ripped from their parents' hands in the crushing weight of the crowd. Some flee at a dead run, while others drag themselves forward, heavily burdened by old age or bulky possessions. A few stop to rest against the walls, exhausted, never to get up again. Fatigue claims them long before the volcano does. Archaeological evidence reveals that roughly 2/3 of Pompeii's 15,000 residents successfully evacuated during these critical early hours. They scatter in every direction: north toward the safety of Naples, south toward Stabia, or east into the open countryside. A desperate crowd tries to reach the harbor to escape by sea, but it proves to be a fatal mistake. Heavy volcanic debris rains directly into the bay, and the few ships that haven't already fled lie trapped at the docks, their decks dangerously overloaded with panicked refugees. Tragically, thousands choose to stay behind. In the grand estate known today as the Villa of the Mysteries, archaeologists would later discover the skeleton of a wealthy man still clutching tight to bags of gold coins. He had stayed behind to pack, lingering too long to secure his earthly riches until it was too late. Others have no choice at all. Enslaved people are left locked in their quarters, abandoned by masters who fled to save themselves. Today, we find their skeletal remains still wearing heavy iron collars, trapped inside the ruins of slave quarters where they were left to die. Many choose to shelter in place voluntarily, betting their lives that they can ride out the tempest inside their homes, huddled in deep cellars and windowless back rooms. Roman architecture is legendary, and stone buildings are sturdy. Surely, they think, this strange storm will pass. By 5 p.m., 5 hours into the eruption, the pumice layer sits over 2 meters deep in some streets. Roofs begin to buckle and fail under the tremendous weight of the stone. The terrifying sound of structural collapse echoes across the city, crushing those who sought safety underneath. The hometown they walked just this morning is gone, unrecognizable, buried under a shifting grey desert. By 7 p.m., the bombardment has raged for 6 hours, and the situation worsens drastically. The lighter white pumice shifts to a rain of heavy, dense grey stones mixed with massive blocks of rock, hurled violently from the volcano's crater. Roofs that held firm all afternoon finally give way. Around 2,000 souls remain inside Pompeii, huddled together in dark cellars, praying desperately for an end to the nightmare while their world collapses around them. 6 hours later, at around 1 a.m., the towering column of ash in the sky finally loses its upward momentum and collapses under its own immense weight. A series of lethal pyroclastic surges, avalanches of superheated gas and ash, race down the northern slopes of the mountain. The first surge slams directly into Herculaneum, a wealthy seaside resort just 4 miles from the crater. Over 300 residents had fled to the stone, arched boathouses on the beach, huddling together in the dark, waiting for rescue ships that would never arrive. When the incandescent cloud hits the shore, they die in a fraction of a second. Herculaneum is instantly erased from the earth. At 5 a.m., the rain of pumice finally slows to a halt over Pompeii. For the battered survivors who have endured 18 hours of pure terror, this sudden quiet feels like a divine reprieve, their last golden opportunity to escape. A few remaining souls gather their strength and attempt to cross the buried city, but right at that moment, a violent earthquake violently shakes the region. Structures already compromised by the hours of heavy bombardment instantly collapse, making flight through the ruins even more treacherous than the stone rain itself. At around 6:30 a.m., the next massive pyroclastic surge breaks over the lip of Vesuvius, racing south toward Pompeii. The roiling cloud of 500-degree gas rolls over the outskirts first, instantly consuming the refugees who had attempted to flee across the open countryside. Caught completely in the open, they have nowhere to hide. The sheer, blistering thermal energy of the surge is so intense that it melts solid silverware inside the dining rooms. A few small pockets of the city center, shielded by the thick stone of the public walls, are partially protected from the initial blast. A handful of people are still alive inside, coughing, horribly burned, but still desperately breathing. Then, at 7 a.m., the fourth major surge strikes Pompeii. This is the final blow, the one that completely eradicates every living thing and structural remains left in the city. The unstoppable wall of gas and ash is so powerful that it cascades right over the towering city walls. In the hours that follow, a fifth and sixth surge sweep across the landscape, stretching all the way across the bay toward Misenum. Hundreds of refugees who had fled hours earlier and believed they had found safety are overtaken in the open fields. By 8 a.m., Pompeii is completely gone. Between 14 and 17 feet of hardened volcanic ash and pumice seal the city away from the world. The coastline itself has been pushed back, and the entire geography of the lush region is utterly unrecognizable. Somewhere between 13 and 16,000 people have perished across the area. For nearly 17 centuries, Pompeii remained buried, silent, and forgotten. When formal excavations finally began in 1748, workers uncovered a sight that shocked the world. An entire ancient city, perfectly preserved in its final, agonizing death rattle. Loaves of bread were still sitting inside the dark ovens. Intact meals rested on tables, and human bodies were frozen forever in the exact positions they occupied when death claimed them. Perhaps the most unsettling truth of the disaster is that the people of Pompeii had hours to save themselves. They experienced clear warning signs for days, yet thousands chose to stay anyway. Some foolishly prioritized material property over survival. Others simply assumed the danger would pass, confident that such a catastrophe could never happen to them. Tragically, they were entirely wrong.